Hi everyone, thank you for coming back to my channel. In this video, I will talk about the relationship between the nuclear power plants in the US and the new Madrid fault lines. This article is published on March 28, 2011 and last update December 23rd, 2015. As US preps for nuclear disaster drills, scientists reassure about quick zone facilities. The United States is home to 104 nuclear plants, 15 of which are located in that was known as New Madrid Seismic Zone, a region defined by a fault line of the same name. But while the U.S. earthquake zone is active, scientists said the ingredients do not exist there for a Japan-style nuclear disaster. Robert Williams, a scientist with the U.S. Geological Survey's hazards team, said the New Madrid seismic zone involves 8 states and it's an active earthquake area in the central United States that follows the Mississippi River between Missouri, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Tennessee. It's an area that is currently experiencing earthquakes and has a history of magnitude 7 to 8 earthquakes. But the shaking from a New Madrid quake would involve a much larger area, so it runs along the border and is of concern to those communities in the Mississippi River Valley as well as Memphis and St. Louis. In February, Christchurch suffered a 6.3 earthquake. Christchurch has a building infrastructure that's a lot like what you find in the central US Main Street. 100-year-old brick buildings, no reinforcement, no consideration of earthquake shaking. This article published on August 24th, 2011. If an earthquake hit U.S. nuclear plants, a nightmare scenario. The 5.8 magnitude earthquake that rocked the East Coast Tuesday and sent 2 nuclear reactors in Virginia offline has refocused concerns about the safety of nuclear plants in the U.S. and prompted reviews of plants in at least 6 states. Interestingly, the federal government has run exercises of how a doomsday earthquake nuclear disaster would play out. Noah Shackman at Wired News. Are we prepared for the worst? Experts around the web are highlighting the strengths and vulnerabilities of America's nuclear plants. The nightmare scenario. In May, the federal government ran a simulation of an earthquake disaster called National Level Exercise 11, which involves a quake hitting the Midwest, leaving 7 million people homeless and the death of 100,000 Midwesterners. Shackman explains the details. National Level Exercise 11 was in essence a replay of a disaster that happened 200 years earlier. On December 16, 1811, a magnitude 7.7 earthquake hit the New Madrid fault line, which lies on the border region of Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Mississippi. In that seismic zone, there are 15 nuclear power plants. Paul Stockton, the Defense Department's senior Homeland Security official, explains what could happen. Electric power would go out, not for days, but for weeks and months in the 4th state region. Municipal water systems that all run on electricity, don't they? Well, people are gonna get thirsty. You need water for firefighting, don't you? Second, all gasoline pumps run on electric power. Same with diesel fuel. So in terms of road mobility, of getting the relief forces in and evacuating people out, no gasoline, the cascading failures go on and on. Nuclear plants are vulnerable elsewhere too. The 5.8 magnitude earthquake that hit Virginia brought the East Coast plants awfully close to breaking point. This is not that vulnerable. Pushing back against some of the whistleblowers, Michael Lemonick at The Guardian says U.S. nuclear plants have strengths and weaknesses, and the weaknesses should not be overstated. During an earthquake, the ground shakes back and forth, and the damage is roughly proportional to the ground's maximum acceleration. The PGA risk is what is typically used to set building codes. Most nuclear plants are designated to operate under 0.2 PGA and automatically shut off if the PGA exceeds 0.2 G. However, they can withstand a PGA many times larger than that. If one safety measure fails, there are several others in place to prevent a nuclear emergency. The bottom line is that a major earthquake would probably not result in a nuclear meltdown at the reactors on the above map, but it could present significant engineering challenges. Quantifying the risks and minimizing them as much as possible is a key task for everyone involved in the nuclear energy industry. There are mixed views on this. After laying out a nuclear nightmare scenario, Shatman explains the differences of opinions on its likelihood. Will another 1811 style earthquake hit the Midwest again? At the Aspen Forum, Stockton insisted that we are overdue. That's overblown. If an independent panel convened by the National Earthquake Prediction Evacuation Council is to be believed, there's a 1 in 50 chance of a megaquake every 50 years. Before 1811, the big ones happened in approximately the years 1450 and 900. Still, this is all a game of percentages. No one can say for sure when the next disaster will strike, and it's worth noting that New Madrid is considered the most active earthquake region east of the Rockies. This past Wednesday the 13th to Friday the 15th, bomb cyclone triggers flooding on Missouri rivers. A powerful late winter bomb cyclone storm pushed into the U.S. Midwest and the Great Lakes region on Friday, causing flooding along the Mississippi and Missouri rivers, standing herds of cattle, and raising alarms at a Nebraska nuclear power plant. Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts issued an emergency declaration of the state, citing forecasts of up to 2 feet of snow and high winds that are expected to make travel difficult to impossible on roads. Nebraskans should watch the forecast closely in the coming days and be prepared for severe weather events in conjunction with potential historic flooding. Streams will see moderate to major flooding through the weekend. The surface set and flooding along the Missouri River will continue to next week. The Nebraska Public Power District declared an unusual event at East Cooper Nuclear Station power plant on Friday due to the possibility of flooding along the Missouri. Workers filled sandbags along the river levee and procured other materials for flood protection, the agency said. It said the plant continued to operate safely and there was no immediate threat to plant employees or to the public. In Iowa, a disaster proclamation by Governor Kim Reynolds, issued after reports of flooding on Thursday, remained in effect. Most power plant outages were cleared by early Friday, according to the tracking site Power Outage. Now let's take a look of the damaged area in the New Madrid seismic zone. Feel free to pause this video to take a look of this area. This map shows you the major seismic zones in the US. From the west coast is San Francisco and LA. In the Midwest, the New Madrid fault line, and the East Coast. This map shows you the nuclear power plants in the United States as of year 2011. So now we know where all the power plants are. It's all the way along the New Madrid fault line and San Francisco, the Seismic Zone, also the East Coast Seismic Zone. They have planted it all along long time ago. Now the major disaster is coming, so they can always trigger the nuclear power plants and then man-made earthquakes together and cause the U.S. in chaos.